So on this one, the half length of the person is 18 inches, but I will be adding extra 2 inches, both for sewing allowance. So I will dot out the 20 inches, then I'll connect it with a straight line. Okay, after dotting out the line, I will now mark the bust line, the under bust line, and the bust point, and also I've already marked the complete full length. So this is the bust line, 9 inches. The under bust is 15 inches. The bust point is 12 inches. Sorry guys, I forgot my ruler, so I'm using this as a ruler. So this is bust line, this is bust point, this is the under bust, and this is the half length. Then here is shoulder. After dotting out the lines, the next thing is to mark the shoulder measurement, which is 16 divided by 2 will give me 8 inches. So I'll mark the 8 inches here, and I'll mark it down to the bust line. So after marking the shoulder line, the next thing is to mark the neck depth and the wideness. I'm using the depth 3 inches, then the wideness 3 inches. So if I'll connect it with a free hand, then use your ruler if you have one available. So after connecting the neckline, the next thing is to mark the shoulder depth, which is shoulder slope, sorry, the shoulder slope or the shoulder slant, anyone. Then I'll slant it down to the neckline. So the next thing is to divide the midpoint of the armhole and mark the midpoint. I have 8 inches here, divided by 2 will give me 4. So from that 4 inches, I'll come in by half inches. So I'll be connecting my armhole from here down to here and down to here. So I'll be using my free hand. It might not be that beautiful because it's free hand, but you already understand what I'm trying to do. So after this, the next thing I'll mark is my nipples to nipples measurement, which is 8 inches divided by 2. That is 4. So I'll mark the 4 inches on the half length, under bust point, and the bust line, and I'll connect it with a straight line. But if you don't want your own to get to the bust line, you can as well clean it. I will show you the reason why I say you can as well clean it. So after this, the next thing I have to do now is to connect from here, upper side. But before that, before we proceed on this side, let's move to this part. Since we are working on princess dart, the under bust will come out by 2 inches. The half length will come out by 2 inches, and I will connect it with a straight line. Then from this under bust, from this 2 inches, I'll connect it down to this bust point using my free hand. So after connecting it, the next thing I have to do now is from this midpoint, I'll come out by 2 inches. You can do more than 2 inches, you can do 2.5. Then from here now, I'll connect a straight line down to bust point. Remember, I'm using my free hand. I'm not with my ruler here, so I'll try my best to give it a very good curve. Then after that, from this midpoint, I'll come out by 1 inch. From this 1 inch, I'll connect it back to the bust point. Then from that 1 inch, I'll come out by 2 inches or 2.5. So I'll now get another new armhole from here. This will be a new armhole from here. But before I'll mark the new armhole, I will now insert the bust measurement divided by 4. My bust measurement divided by 4 is 44 divided by 4, that's 11. Plus this 1 inch here, that's 12. Plus 1 inch joining allowance, because you know I'll be joining this part and this part together. That's 13. Then you will now add your sewing allowance. On this paper, I'll be adding 1 inch for sewing allowance. So this is my bust line. Then I'll connect my armhole from there. That's my new armhole. Then the next thing I will do is to mark the under bust. My under bust is 38 divided by 4 will give me 9.5. Plus this 2 inches, that's 11.5. Plus 1 inch joining allowance, that's 12.5. Plus 1 inch sewing allowance, that will give me 13.5. So on this round under bust, let's start again. 38 divided by 4 is 9.5. Plus this 2 inches, that's 11.5. Plus 1 inch joining allowance, that's 12.5. Plus another 1 inch sewing allowance, that's 13.5. I'll rather mark. Then the waistline is 42 divided by 4, that is 10.5. Plus this 2 inches, that is 12.5. 1 inch joining allowance and 1 inch sewing allowance, that's 14.5. So from here, I'll connect it to here. From the waist under bust, I'll connect it to the half length, and from the bust line, I will connect it to the under bust. So let me differentiate my sewing allowance, that's 1 inch. So this is my sewing allowance, and this is the full cutting of the front. Then let's get back to the side dart. There are two types of darts you can mark. You can either mark it from the bust point line, or you mark it from the half length. It is your choice. But if you are to mark it from the bust point line, all you have to do from the upper part, you just come up from the bust point, you come up by 1 inch. From that 1 inch, you connect it down to the bust line, as into the bust point line. So this is our dart. We are taking this out, and we're also taking this out. we are taking this plate out also. You understand? But if you want a half length dart, if you want the dart to be on the half length, all you have to do is from this half length, you come up by 1 inch here, and then use your ruler and slant it to this point. That is if you want the dart to be on the down, but I prefer my own dart to be on the bust point line. So then there, I told you you will have a different neckline. Let's assume you want a V neckline. You just go down to the length of the depth of the neckline that you want. Let's assume you want V neckline. We'll mark 8 inches. That's the depth. Then the wideness, you can as well extend it to 3.5 if you are not okay with the 3 inches that I marked before. So all you have to do is to connect the line from here down to here. So you put your ruler, and connect it. So this is a V-neck. Then if it is a sweetheart that you need, you can also get a sweetheart neck. You can also carve it, but we'll proceed on that one while, if I'm using the fabric, while cutting it on the fabric, we'll proceed on the neck angle. So after this, now let's move down to the back pattern. So I will now proceed on cutting the back bodies. Okay guys, to mark the back, if you look here, you will notice that I've ruled out my lines, but I will explain the lines. Okay, remember at the front the half length is 18 inches. We added 2 inches, making it 20. But on this back, I'm only marking 18 inches, which is the half length. So I won't be adding any allowance. Reason for that is so that the zipper will not be bulging at the back. It will not be folding at the back. That's the essence of removing the 2 inches that I added at the front. Then from here, you will notice that I've marked my bust line, bust point, under bust, and the half length. Then I added 1.5 inches for the zipper allowance. That's what I added here. This for zipper allowance. Zipper allowance. Then after that, I mark my shoulder line, which is 16 divided by 2. That's 8 inches. So the next thing that we are going to do now is to mark the neck depth. Remember the front, we use 3 inches for the neck depth, but the back I'm using 2 inches. I'm using 2 inches for the neck depth and 3 inches for the wideness of the neck. That's what I use at the front. So the wideness, you are using the same thing you use at the front, but the depth, you reduce the back. Unless you want the back to go down, you want the back neckline to go down. Okay, so after marking the 3 inches by 2, the next thing is to mark 1 inch for shoulder slope. I do the same thing at the front, so I'm doing it also at the back. This 1 inch for shoulder slope. Then after that, you will notice that at the front, I mark out the midpoint, which is from the armhole. I mark out the midpoint, which is 4 inches. Then I come in by ½ inch. That's at the front. But this back, I am not coming in at the front. I'm not coming in by ½ inch. Sorry. So all I have to do is, after marking the shoulder, the slope, I'll mark the midpoint of the armhole. So the next thing I will do is to divide my bust into 4 and add my sewing allowance. So my bust measurement is 44 divided by 4. That's 11. So I'll be marking just the 11 now so that I can carve my armhole. So I'll be carving my armhole from this point to this point and to this point. Remember, I'm using my free hand. So this is my armhole. After marking the armhole, the next thing I have to do now is to mark the nipples to nipples measurement divided by 2. That's 8 inches divided by 2 will be 4. I'll mark it at the half length, mark it at the under bust, and mark it at the bust point. I won't be marking it at the bust line. So after that, I will connect it with a straight line. So after connecting it with a straight line, the next thing I have to do is to mark half inch at the both sides from the half length line. I'll mark half inch from the both sides, and I will slant it down to the bust point. That's the back there. So that is it. After that, the next thing I have to do is at this midpoint from the armhole, I'll come out by 2 inches or 2.5. It is your choice. And I will connect it. I want to try using a ruler. Let me see how it works. Remember, at the front, I use a free hand. So I'll connect it back to here. Then after that, from that 2 inches or 2.5 that I come up, I'll now connect my armhole. I'll now have a new armhole. This will no longer be my armhole. I will have a new armhole as we did at the front. So after this, the next thing I have to do is to insert my bust measurement with sewing allowance. So I've already marked my bust measurement, which is 11. Then I'll be adding 1 inch for joining allowance. Then I'll be adding 1 inch for my sewing allowance. Then the under bust is 38 divided by 4. That's 9.5. I'll be adding this half inch that I minus, which is half to the right, half to the left. That's 1 inch. I'll be adding it. So 9.5 plus 1, that's 10.5, plus 1 inch for joining allowance, that's 11. Then I'll be marking 1 inch for my sewing allowance. Then the waistline is 42 divided by 4 will give me 10.5, plus this 1 inch here, that's 11.5, plus 1 inch for joining allowance, that's 12.5. Then I'll be adding 1 inch for my sewing allowance. So right now I'll connect the whole lines together. So I'll connect from here down to here. I'll connect from here down to here. So after that, I'll connect back my joining allowance. So after that, I will now take back my armhole to where my measurement stop. That's from here. That's where my measurement stop. So that is it for the back cutting. The back is very easy and simple. So the next thing is to cut it out. If I am cutting this on fabric, I will do well to add my sewing allowance for the shoulder joining allowance on this paper. Okay.